Just do some reminders. How many months in a row have you hit Success Club now?
I think,
Reminders. Uh-oh.
I don't know. I think December will be 3 years.
Dang.
I'm coming up on 36 months.
They need to keep that going. Like, you know how after 24 months, you're kind of capped out?
Yeah, you're already like a legend, but yeah.
Yeah, they need like a super legend or something. Something to keep you going, keep you hungry. All right. So we're all good to go. All right, guys. I know that this was originally supposed to be a diamond and above call. And as I sat here today, looking at what Raquel and I had talked about and thinking about just this time of year, how there's so many things to balance and it can be hard to fit in Beachbody. I think all the time about the people that I've known that have juggled multiple kids, that have juggled full-time jobs and Beachbody and still been able to be successful. And I think our speaker today is the epitome of that. Raquel has been a coach for about 3 years now and has just grown this amazing team, elite team, and actually just retired from her job in October. But up until that point, the entire time, she's balancing 3 very young kids, including 2 twin boys, and a full-time job and her Beachbody business. And so I was asking her, okay, how were you able to do that? And I don't have personal experience with that because I quit my job and went on the struggle bus for a long time to make this work. But she has been able to. And so I know that with last week's call, I got so much positive feedback with Dara Laporta, who's actually very similar to Raquel. I remember telling Raquel about Dara when she first started. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's this girl and she has twins and she has, you know, a daughter your daughter's age. So they're very similar in the fact that they've been able to juggle all of this stuff, but still maintain boundaries and success with their family. And of course, we don't ever want to see somebody compromise their full-time job, their kids, or anything for Beachbody, but there is a way to do it all. And so with this call, you're going to hear from Success Club super legend. She's been Success Club her whole coach career. She has been an elite coach. She has killed this business, and I see her future as being one of the top coaches in the entire network. So without further ado, Raquel McAfee.
Hi, y'all. I am so honored to be on this call. When I was a brand new baby coach, I lived for Monday nights because that's how I learned how to build my own business. So super honored to be here and excited to share a little bit about me and my story and how you can absolutely build a business. If you're working full-time and you have 3 kids, 3 and under like myself, you can still build a majorly big business. If you didn't get a chance to watch Dara's call from last week, I strongly encourage you to watch it. Like Lindsay said, Dara was somebody I looked up to because when I was starting, I felt like there wasn't anybody like me. Like, you know, I had 3 kids under 3 and I was working 40 to 50 hours a week. And like, I just didn't see, of course, I'm sure there are Beachbody coaches who are like me, right? But when I was first starting out, I didn't see anybody that resembled me or were going through my struggles. So I wasn't sure how it was going to work, but I'm going to share with you how I've been able to build a business and how, you know, this past month I was able to retire from my career. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. Okay, can y'all see that? Yes, I hope. Okay. So the title of my presentation is Boundaries and Balance While Building Your Business. And when Lindsay asked me to speak on this call, I was really thinking about what could I share that maybe might be unique, that maybe you haven't heard. We talked about, you know, how have you fitted in and what have you done? And, you know, obviously the 4 vital behaviors are great and wonderful, and hopefully you know what they are. If not, you can find out information about that. But I wanted to give you a little bit more insight into how I've been able to maintain my relationships with my family, still be a present wife and mom, and, you know, work that full-time job, and also build a business that has been successful and has, you know, really opened my eyes to what's possible in a bigger vision. So I kind of want to show you a little bit about that. I like to say I'm a combination of both a preacher and a teacher. So I will motivate you, but then I'm also going to give you some tangible things of what that looks like. So first off, this is me. This is my family. And this picture was taken. We had family pictures a few months back in, or, it just sums up my family. I feel like we're constantly like running, and it's me and my husband trying to keep up with our 3 kids. If you have kids, it's crazy. And when your kids outnumber you, it just takes the craziness to a whole nother level. So Lindsay, get ready, because you're about to have 3. But I am, first and foremost, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, and I consider myself a CEO. And what CEO means to me is Chief Everything Officer, because I think sometimes as women, we just do it all. And I will tell you, I have such great support. I'm not trying to say I do it all because my husband is there, but I do feel like a lot of it falls on my shoulders. Whether it's, like I said, I'm a wife, a mom, or even of my business, I really take on that CEO role, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what that looks like. I'm going to talk about the beginning of why I started and my why, how success really truly is a decision, the real deal of how I went for Elite last year and what that looked like behind the scenes, because I think so many times you see these recognition and all that great stuff, but you don't see really what happens behind the scenes. Talking about digging deeper into your why and how to do that so that you can stay motivated. And then I'm going to give you my goal setting guide, which I think would be great for you to actually take time to fill out after this call, especially as we get ready to head into the new year and to really be able to look at 2018 of what you want to accomplish. Because yes, it's the end of the year. Yes, it's December, but it's still push time. And what we do in the next few weeks of the year really set our businesses up for success in 2018. And then boundaries and being intentional. That's what that should say. So first and foremost, the beginning, a little bit about me. Like I said, I am a married mom. I have 3 kids. When I started the business, I have twin boys. They were 11 months. My daughter was 3, and I was working a full-time job and also teaching part-time 2 nights a week. So I was working about 50 hours a week. My husband had just taken a new job in sales, 100% commission, and we were just busy. Like, busy is probably the biggest understatement of the year. We were just busy. And like, looking back, I'm like, I don't know why I felt at that point in my life, adding one more thing and building a business was a great idea. But I'm glad I didn't really think about it too much, because my self now is so thankful for myself in December of 2014, because I did have a bigger vision, and I knew my life was not a true reflection of my potential. You go through life and you do everything that you're supposed to do. You go to school. I got my master's degree. My husband has his master's degree. I felt like I played it safe, and I'd played by the rules, and yet I felt like I should be further along, and I wasn't. And I felt like where I was in life was not who I really was or what I had in me. I was overwhelmed with motherhood. So again, working full time, trying to raise 3 kids, twins were a huge surprise. I was not anticipating that. I honestly never thought I would ever have more than 1 kid. And then I had 3. So it was just a lot. And I felt like I had lost who I was. Like, I was just a mom and a wife, and I was like, who is Raquel? And I was just kind of unfulfilled in my job at the time. I had kind of hit the glass ceiling of a promotion, and it was kind of like, well, this is as good as it gets. I know you have your master's degree. I know you've been working here, but this is it. And I remember looking around and being like, I can't do this for 40 years. This cannot be as good as it gets. And because I felt like that, I just felt so stuck. I felt so stuck. And I was getting bitter. Like, it says negative Nancy, but truly I was becoming bitter Betty, because I felt like I had done everything I was supposed to do, and yet this is it. I mean, we were barely getting by. We were getting by, but we weren't getting ahead. And that just always infuriated me to no end. And I knew deep down that I was made for more. So that's why I started. I started this business to build a business. And that's kind of why I got going. Now, I will tell you, when I decided to do this, I decided that I would be successful. I looked at these other people around me, and I even found Lindsay, and I was like, she's a top coach. I'm definitely working with her. And, I just told myself, like, there is no other option but to succeed. Like, it just is. Like, there literally, again, maybe ignorance is bliss, but I just knew I can do this. And I immersed myself in this business. I literally eat, slept, breathed Beachbody coaching for my entire first year. That learning curve, if you're a new coach, it's steep, right? So I think I listened to every national wake-up call. I was on YouTube. I was in the back office. Like, my mom used to joke with me because I would drive my kids to and from school in the van, and she's like, your kids are going to know how to be great Beachbody coaches because you're constantly listening to national wake-up calls. But I was obsessed with with learning how to do this business. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I didn't wait until I figured it out. I just went. And it was a lot of messy action, but I just moved forward. People ask me, well, Raquel, if you were working 50 hours a week and you had 3 kids and your husband works, like, how did you do it? There's only a certain amount of hours in the day. And I agree, there is. But here's how I did it. I woke up early. And I know a lot of times people are like, well, I'm just not a morning person. And I get that because I really wasn't a morning person either. But you can train yourself. And I'm going to talk, I got up like an hour early, but it was worth it to me. A little bit less sleep was totally worth it. I utilized my commute like I just talked about. Constantly. I can't tell you popular songs on the radio because I'm constantly listening to personal development or something to build my business. I'm constantly, PD is like huge in my life. If I'm in the shower, I have my shower radio, like it's constantly on. I utilize my lunch hour and then I cut TV time. I always joke, my team always knows this, like I love Real Housewives. Like it's my little vice of like guilty pleasure, but I cut it out. I was like, no, that's not making me better. I'm going to utilize that time that I'd be watching reality TV to build this business. And that's what I did. I also consistently shared my journey with excitement. If you will go back to January, February, probably all of 2015, let's be real, my posts are terrible. The picture quality is awful. I don't even think my content was that great, but I was excited. Like, poor thing. People are probably like, oh, bless her heart. She's just so excited. And I was, but I'll tell you, enthusiasm can bring you really, really far. I don't even know if people knew what I was really doing, but because I shared with such excitement and passion, I would get people reaching out to me and they would say, I noticed a difference in you. Like, what is it that you're doing? And again, the quality of what I was posting, the pictures that I wasn't posting at that time, I look back and I'm like, oh my God, it's so embarrassing. But nothing can beat excitement. So I would definitely encourage you to just be excited and share it with people. Everybody I talked to, even in person, I was telling them about my new venture and what I was doing, and it's so great and I feel so awesome. And enthusiasm is contagious. I consistently added to my team. From the very get-go, I knew I needed to build a team. I don't know how I knew that. Like, I didn't know any of the ranks. I didn't even know Diamond. Once I figured out what Diamond was, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I can get there. But at the beginning, I literally had no idea what any of that was. But I knew I needed to build a team. So before figuring it out, before knowing what I was doing, I invited people. And it was usually in person, over the phone. My 2 best friends joined me right off the bat. I'm very fortunate, very blessed that they joined me. But that was just something that I did from the beginning. And like I said, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to train them, but I was so excited. People want to join a moving train. And they knew I was like moving and they weren't sure where we were going, but they wanted to join me. So definitely from the beginning, don't wait until you have it figured out. Don't wait until you have training systems. Just add people to your team and figure it out together. I think that's the beauty of our team, why we have that strong team culture, because we truly have figured it out together from the get-go. And then finally, I had a CEO mindset versus an employee mindset. So I think a lot of times as employees, you wait to be told what to do, or you do just enough to get by, paycheck, whatever. Versus a CEO, I knew I wasn't going to wait for Lindsay to tell me what to do, right? I knew training was out there. She told me 2 books to read, and I read them. Like right off the bat, I remember texting her, be like, what 2 books do I need to read? And I immediately ordered them off Amazon and read them. And Lindsay wasn't coming to me and being like, hey, did you read those books? Where are you? I just knew I had to really take that on myself. And if I wanted to build this business, when I signed up, I became CEO, and it was dependent on myself. So always know success is a decision, and it always lies in your hands. Okay, now I'm going to get really real with you, because I felt like when I was shooting for Elite last year, I wasn't really prepared for what it was going to be like. And I've shared this with my team a little bit because I want to be real and open and raw, because I didn't know this and I wish I had known now. It was hard. It was a lot harder. I mean, I had these plans, my first year I missed premiere. Like literally I dropped from 2-star the last week of the month, and I was kind of devastated. But I was like, okay, that's fine. I didn't hit premiere my first year, but I am going for Elite. It is happening. Like by Summit, I will be a 5-star diamond. Like it was done. Like, and again, ignorance is bliss. I didn't know what that looked like or how I was going to get there. I just knew I was. Well, Summit came. I was hoping to go to leadership retreat. I was really discouraged, but then August came and it was Team Cup month, and I was like, no, I'm not giving up on this goal that I set for myself at the beginning of the year. Like Elite is happening no matter what. And I pushed for it, and I rallied our team, and our team was incredible, and we hit Elite, and it was awesome. But I wasn't in a way that felt good. I didn't do it in a way that aligned with what my priorities of my family, being a wife, it just sucked. So while I love elite and it's been amazing and it's a huge accomplishment and I am shooting for elite again, I'm doing it in a different way. And I'm going to kind of talk a little bit more about that. But there's going to be seasons of balance and imbalance in this business, and you just have to know that. But I got to a place where I was completely out of balance. I was shooting for elite. It's the holidays. I was qualifying. It was like Thanksgiving and it was Christmas, and I was just super stressed and I didn't feel like I was fully present. And when I hit elite, it just didn't feel good. It just didn't feel good. But I also believe that everything happens for a reason. And I do believe I had that experience so that I could really start January with a different mindset of like, okay, I still have big goals and I still want to do big things in this business, but I want to do it in a way that feels good to my soul. And that when I do hit a goal, I can truly celebrate and feel like I'm in some sort of balance. Like, again, there's going to be seasons of imbalance, but I want to do it in a way that feels good. So one thing I want to talk to you too, that's something that I hear about all the time, and I've said it myself, so I'm not calling you out, except I kind of am, but one of the things that I hear from coaches is, oh, I'm just so overwhelmed. I don't know, this business is just, and this time of the year, like, let's be real, holidays in and of themselves are overwhelming. You add shooting for big goals, you add this business, and it can be super overwhelming. And what I see a lot of people do in this business is that the first thing to go is their coaching business. And I get that. I'm going to talk about priorities and all of those things, but it always breaks my heart when I hear people trying to take a step back. I'm so overwhelmed. I really hate that statement. I just do. So I want you to think about reframing it. When you see yourself getting to that point, if it's stress that's turned into anxiety, like I'm doing too much, I have so much going on and my to-do list is out the wall, I don't know how I'm going to get it done, just slow down. Right? Just slow down. When I start feeling myself be overwhelmed, that's a clue to me that I'm doing too much. And as much as I would love to believe that I'm a great multitasker, I'm not. None of us really are. Instead of doing things great, I half-ass it. It doesn't feel good. I know I'm half-assing it. It's just not a good thing. So I slow down, reevaluate my priorities, what needs to get done, what can go to the wayside, and then kind of go from there. So just to know that, that's key right there if you're feeling that. Also, you're gonna feel overwhelmed in this business as you start experiencing growth. I think sometimes we see overwhelm as like a negative thing, but I will tell you, when my team has been growing and building and shooting for big goals, it's overwhelming because now I have a team that's counting on me and I'm supposed to lead them and like, but that's a beautiful thing. Hang on. If it's, you being uncomfortable experiencing growth, hang on, because it's a beautiful thing and great things are ahead. So just recognize that too. If it's stress, slow down. If it's like, wow, this is great, overwhelming, there's a lot of great things happening, savor it, figure out how you can move through it, and hang on because the best is yet to come. The next thing that I want to talk about that literally irks me to no end, like, when I hear coaches tell me, I think I'm just going to take a step back. And this time of year, I will tell you a ton of coaches are doing that. And that's just basically a slow death. Like, I'd almost rather you just say, you know what, I'm just going to quit. I'd prefer that than I'm just going to take a step back. Because when you take a step back, I want you to ask yourself, what does that really look like? Right? Does that mean as a coach that you're not going to do your workouts anymore? Does that mean you're not going to post on social media? Does that mean you're not going to engage and invite? Like, what does that look like for you to take a step back? And then just to recognize, is this just a short season? It is a busy time. We have the holidays. A lot of us are shooting for big goals. We just have a lot going on. Do you really need to take a step back, or do you just need to recognize it's just a season where it feels a little crazy, it's a little bit imbalanced, but I know I'm going to get through it and I'm going to start the year and it's going to feel good? Really ask yourself that. And then the other thing I want you to think about, this one always kills me when people I'm going to take a step back, I'll just really start pushing again in January. Well, real talk, when you take a step back, just know if you take 2 weeks off in your business, at minimum, it's going to take you twice that long just to get to the point where you were, if not longer. So if you take 2 weeks off right now, you just want to, I'm going to bounce, take the month off to December and I'll come back in January. Just know it's probably going to take you 2 months just to kind of build that momentum up again. So if you're cool with that, cool. But for me, I've worked too hard and lose that momentum. I really do believe success loves speed, momentum. Let it work in your favor, but taking a step back isn't going to help you. And when you're ready to go, you're going to really be kicking yourself. So just think about that. And then what lessons can we look for and how can we make the most of it? So like I said, when I was shooting for elite and I felt overwhelmed. I felt like, I just need a break. I had to really sit back and think, okay, how can I do this different so that when I come to next December 2017 and I'm still pushing for elite and I'm still pushing for big goals, how can I do it differently? And I'm going to share with you one of the most beautiful lessons, one of the most beautiful things that happened out of that experience. And I'm so thankful that I didn't do it right, because now I've learned and I can share with my team and y'all how you can really shoot for big goals and make it feel good. So one of the things, we just went to High Performance Academy at the end of September with Lindsay. It was incredible. I know that she has that as one of her things that she's pushing for. Definitely strive to qualify for that because it was awesome. It's a life-changing experience. We really talked about high performance and what do high performers look like. And I really think he said something that you want to strive satisfied. Again, there's nothing wrong with having big goals, but you want to do it in a way that feels good. And this quote just totally spoke to me. If you're lonely at the top, you did it wrong, right? When you make it to the top and when you hit those big goals, you want to have your team with you. You want to have your family and the support of your family, where it just feels like we did this. We made it, right? And one of the things, Brendon Burchard talks about at High Performance Academy, he defined what high performance is, and it's exceeding beyond standard norms. Absolutely. If you're on this call and you have big goals for your business, you don't want to be ordinary. I think that's like my biggest fear in life, is to be average or ordinary. I don't want to just succeed and to be average and just be where everyone else is. I want to succeed beyond the standard average American. And I want to be able to do it consistently over the long term. But I know that if I'm going to do it consistently, I have to do it in a way that's not going to make me burn out, right? You can do short bursts of energy, but if you don't do it in a way that aligns with your goals and priorities, you're going to burn out and you won't be able to stay consistent over the long term. And then the huge big thing, and I love that Brendon Burchard said this, is high performance is also doing all of that, succeeding beyond standard norms consistently over the long term, while maintaining well-being and positive relationships. Because again, you can be super successful, but if you lost everything else along the way, that's really not performing at that high standard that we're shooting for. So what I want to talk about is, why did you become a coach? Because I think one of the things that I've had to do to remind myself of my big goals, and when I'm getting to the point where I'm like, oh my God, if I have to post one more selfie on social media, I might vomit. I have to really go back and think, why did I do this? Like, what is my why for doing this? Because that's going to give you that long-term vision so that you stay consistent. People say, I became a coach because I love helping people. And I love that answer, but helping people is what we do. It's not why we do it. Helping people isn't going to make bed an hour early. Helping people isn't enough to make me turn off Real Housewives. It's just not. It's a great goal, and absolutely that's what we do, but you got to really dig deeper for that why. So here's an exercise that I would love for you to do if you're feeling like you kind of lost sight of what you're doing and you're feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling stressed and you feel like you need to take a step back. That is an also great sign for you to maybe revisit why you're in this business. So there are 3 things that you're going to ask yourself to help you develop your why. And I will tell you, my why has changed. I wasn't really prepared for that. When I first started, my why was, we were barely getting by. I had 3 kids in daycare, 2 in diapers, and life was really expensive. We were like up to our head of like barely making it. Like I said, like, ooh. And my first why was, I wanted to be able to pay for daycare costs and pay for diapers. Like that was it. Like that was just straight. I needed to make enough money so that I could do that and not feel the stress of like financial pressure. So that's where I started. Then we just started to do that. I was like, okay, I feel good. I can pay for daycare. I can pay for my mortgage. I'm feeling really good. What's my next why? My next why was to be able to have flexibility with my hours and then to be able to leave my full-time job. Now, I will tell you, I just did that in October, and December will be my 3-year anniversary. So it doesn't happen overnight, but consistency is the name of the game. But now, I'll tell you right now, I'm having to go through these same questions because it's like, okay, well, now I've retired myself from the business. Now why am I doing this? So just know it's one of those things that you're just going to have to continually and add to and really ask yourself what's pushing me. So one of the things we talk about, obviously, physical health and fitness. If you were to accomplish your physical health and fitness dreams, how would your health improve? How would you feel about yourself? What could you do that you can't do now? What would you look like? Why are these things important to you? And what is it costing you right now not to have these things? Now, that last one is the kicker. These are kind of questions that I work through even with my challengers, because it's like, oh, I want to lose 15 pounds. Okay, great. But Thanksgiving comes around, or the Christmas cookies come around, and like losing 15 pounds when there's a fresh baked Christmas cookies isn't really enough. So we have our challengers write these out, like physically by hand, write them out of what does it look like? Why do I want to achieve that? And what does it cost me right now not to have those things? That's a really big kicker of like, okay, I share this story with my team before, and I think sometimes people see me, I've been fit, I've been fortunate. I was able to, I have 3 kids. I've been able to fit back into my pre-pregnancy things. I feel really good. But I will tell you, there was a point in life when after my twins were born, and it was the summer, I think it was 6 months postpartum, and it should have been a great summer. My daughter was like 3, and it should have been a summer where she was at the pool learning how to swim, all those things. But I was not comfortable in a swimsuit, because I still felt like I looked 4 months pregnant. And so I never took her to the pool that summer. And it haunts me now, because I'm like, I was so vain, but I didn't feel comfortable. But it cost me an entire summer with my daughter where we could have been making memories. And that's ridiculous. But there's so many things. I share that with my challengers, and they can relate to the fact that, yes, you are missing out on certain parts of your life by not accomplishing those dreams. So I want you to think about that. Again, this is a great activity to do with your challenge groups. It really helps them to dig deeper besides, I just want to lose 15 pounds. The next thing, this one's huge for us. We're in this business. If you were to accomplish your financial dreams, how would you spend your days? What would you do that you can't do now? How would your lifestyle change? Where would you live? Why are these things important to you? And what is it costing you right now to not have these things? And I will tell you again, like, this is a kicker. I got into this business because I needed this in my life. And I also remember going back, I had just had my twin boys. I was 9 weeks postpartum. I was still healing, and I had to go back to work, and I had to drop off my babies at daycare. And that sucked. Like, it just did. I couldn't believe I had followed all the rules. And here I was, 9 weeks postpartum with twins. I had 3 kids, and I was dropping all of my kids off at a job where I was undervalued, underappreciated, and underpaid. It sucked. But I will tell you, that was a great driving force for me to get my butt up early, for me to continue doing all the things that you're supposed to do, all those vital behaviors when I didn't feel like it, because I knew my why. I knew deep down what it was costing me not to be where I wanted to be. And then finally, if you had more free time, because again, now it's crazy to me that I work from home, and I'm able to feel more relaxed. I have more time. I don't feel like I'm just waking up tired and going to bed exhausted and just trying to fit it all in, right? So what hobbies and interests would you pursue? How would your relationships change? How would you contribute to humanity? What kind of legacy would you leave? Why are these things important to you? And what is it costing you right now not to have these things? So my why is bigger than Beachbody. And I think that that's okay. I think sometimes people get in this business thinking their goal has to be that they have to be top coach or whatever. And if that's your goal, awesome. But it doesn't have to be. I look at Beachbody as a vessel for me to do all those other things that I've wanted to do. I love coaching. I love what I do. I love helping people. But I also have a bigger vision for what I want. And I'm so appreciative that Beachbody truly is the vessel that is going to allow me to do all those other things that I want to create, and let me build that legacy and put my stamp on the world of what I've accomplished. So just know that, and really that you want to do. If you had all the time in the world, money was no question, what could you do? I mean, there's just so many amazing things that, I feel like this business has allowed me to dream more. I stopped somewhere along the way dreaming, and this has just allowed me to really open my eyes and start dreaming again. So then finally, you've written down all of those whys. You've gotten really deep knowing what it is you want to achieve, why it's important to you, and what it's costing you now not to have it. And then own it. I think so many times we're afraid to say what we want. And I don't know if it's because, well, what if I don't get it? Or what are people going to think if I say that out loud? Own it. Own that ambition. And whatever you're thinking, think bigger. But I will tell you, if you don't own it, and if you don't write it out, and you don't keep it in the forefront of your head, you will lose motivation quickly. So one of the things I think Brendon Burchard talked about at High Performance Academy was how to stay motivated. Write down your why, write down your ambitions out loud every single day. It's part of your morning routine, right? Read them out loud to keep them there, because if you're not careful, life happens and we get busy and we get overwhelmed and it's a busy time of the year and we forget. But if it's something that you are reading out loud every single day, it keeps you on track to know, okay, this is why I'm doing it, and I can keep going. Checking in with accountability partners. I've got awesome accountability partners. You should totally find an accountability partner that's going to push you, because you can't do this business alone. And having somebody to be there to bounce ideas off and to push you and to call you out when you're not doing what you need to do is huge. And then again, revisiting why I started. I go back to that piece of paper I've written down of all of those things that I want to accomplish and why it's important, and really revisit that if you're feeling lack of motivation. And then work-life balance and burnout, like I talked about. This business, it is a lot. And at the beginning, you work a lot of hours for very little pay. And if you're not careful, you're burnt out before you allow success to catch up with you. So one of the things I talked about is when I was going for Elite, I hit the goal. I didn't feel good about it in my soul, and it made me reevaluate, okay, what I want to do. So this next slide really is my guide. It's a goal-setting guide, but I have it printed out and it's by my computer. And it reminds me of what I'm working towards and making sure that I'm in alignment with my priorities and my goals. So first thing, what you would want to do on the is really establish what your priorities are. So 1 through 5, what are your priorities? For me, it's my faith, it's my marriage, it's my family, it's my health and fitness, and then number 5 is my business, in that order. I write them out. Those are my priorities. I don't know what they look like for you, but really, what is the biggest priority in your life? Maybe you have 5, maybe you have 3, I don't know. Then the other part on the right is your 12-week goals. If you haven't read the 12-week year, it's a great book. It really allows you to reverse engineer how you build your goals, but write those quarterly goals for both your own fitness, I think is good, and your personal, and then your business. What do you want to achieve? Again, we're getting ready to end out 2017. Before you start 2018, look at what you want to accomplish in that first quarter, January through March. What is it that I want to achieve? And write those down. And then one of the things that I do is, so I have my 5 priorities, and in the middle, 3 actions I can take to honor my priorities. So for example, my number 1 priority is my faith. 3 actions I can take that honor my faith, is my morning devotional. That's something that I do in the mornings. If I don't get my morning devotional in, or if there are a few days, I feel off. So I know that if I'm going to honor my priority, my relationship with God, I need to be getting in my morning devotional. Going to church weekly, and then checking in with my prayer partners. That's something that I can do, 3 actions that honor that. I won't go through all of them. I'll just do one more, with my husband. What are 3 actions I can take to honor my priorities? We do a weekly date night. That's just something with 3 kids, and my husband has his own, business, and me. We've got that. We need that in our marriage. I come from a divorced family, and I want to stay together for my kids. I want an awesome, extraordinary marriage. And for us, date night's a huge priority. It also includes unplugging every single night, because I do love this business, and I can get super focused. And if I'm not careful, I will put the kids to bed and I will work, and then it's like, okay, I'm going to go to bed, and I haven't connected with my husband. So I need to have at least an hour of unplugged time every night. And the third thing, I always laugh about this, but sex. Shalene Johnson said in Summit that you need to have more sex with your husband, and I agree. I think that men need that, and it brings us closer, and that's an action I can take to honor my priorities. So I won't go through all those with you, but when I am if I feel like I'm out of alignment, I come back and I revisit this, and I say, okay, here are my priorities. Am I following through on those 3 actions that truly honor my priorities? And usually if I'm feeling off or out of alignment, I'm not taking those action steps, right? So that's something to do. And then the final thing is 1 weekly activity I can cut that isn't in line with either my priorities or my goals. Right? Because I think sometimes as women, we try to do so much, and we say yes to this and this, but while that's great, sometimes you have to take a step back and say, is this in line with the priorities that I say are in my life, and is it in line with my 12-week goals? I'm going to be very honest right now. Sometimes I feel bad because I'm not that active in the PTA of my daughter's school. And I feel bad for a second, but I go back to this and I'm like, it's not really helping me reach my personal or my business goals. I'm already taking actions for my family, and PTA isn't really lining up. So I can say no to that and feel okay with it because of this. So I encourage you to fill this out. I'm telling you, this was the best thing that I was able to create after coming off of elite last year. And I feel like I've been more in alignment this year with setting big goals, but doing it in a way that honors what I say is my priority. I'm almost done. Okay, so boundaries are a part of self-care. So again, boundaries and balance. So I've created all that guide, but you got to set boundaries. And I think sometimes saying no feels like, ooh, what are people going to think? Or, I should be more available for my team or my challengers, but boundaries are healthy, normal, and necessary. And I think it's important. I talk to a lot of people, that maybe don't have support from their family or maybe don't have support from their spouse. And that's hard, but I would say, have a heart-to-heart conversation with your family about why this business is important to you. Because most likely they don't know. If you've never shared with them why this is important to you, you need to, right? And then set work hours. I will be the first to let you know, when I first started, I was terrible about this, and I'd be like sneaking off to go listen to a team call, and my husband would have to do like bedtime duty. Like right now he's doing bedtime duty, but he knew I was doing this call and we worked it out. But I have these set hours, and then you got to stick to them, because if you say I'm going to do a set hour and then you're still on your phone or whatever, that can create animosity real quick with your relationships. So definitely set boundaries for when you're going to be working and when you're not. And when you're not, honestly, I've had to put my phone in a drawer and lock it up, because if I hear a ding or I'm addicted to my phone, I'll be the first to say. So when I'm having that 1 hour unplugged time with my husband or my family, I have to put it away. Otherwise I'll be tempted. So stick to that. I think that's just a good boundary for myself. Do you have challenge group expectations? I will tell you, this past 6 months, we have set expectations for our group. I was like on a texting basis with my challengers, and it was just like overwhelming. Like they wanted me to be a personal trainer for them. And because I have a trainer background, I was like, well, maybe I should do more. You can't, right? They know if they need me, tag me in the group. And when it's my time to go on, I check in the morning, I do like a noon check-in, and I do an evening check-in, just kind of see what's out there. Then I'll come back to them. And I'll tell you, it has relieved so much stress. They know what to expect. I know what to expect. Everyone wins. Same thing with establishing coach expectations. My coaches know, they set the pace. Right? I think Lindsay was so great at that. Like, if you want to walk, great, I'll walk with you. If you want to run, great, I'll run with you. And I think that that's so key, that you let your coaches know too. Like, I'm not in the business of dragging you. Like, if you say this is your goal, awesome, do it, because you're the CEO. And if you don't, that's okay too. But I think just being very open and honest with what those boundaries and expectations are, everyone wins. Okay. I'm almost done, I promise. But you got to get intentional. This is one of those last things that I learned from Brendon Burchard that has been life-changing. So you got to set up life triggers, right? So again, when I'm mom mode or when I'm like CEO mode, I've got to remember to turn it off. One of the things that Brendon Burchard talks about when he enters a doorway, that's one of his triggers. He walks through a doorway. He said, I'm entering this room as a happy man ready to serve. And that's been so huge for me. When I get home, one of the first things I do is take off my shoes. We put them in the basket right next to the door. And that's my trigger for me to say, I'm entering this home as a happy wife and mama ready to serve. Business goes off. I need to remember, now I'm going into wife and mom mode. The last thing that I thought was so good too is that when it's time to work, right? Because a lot of times we can get caught up in social media and we're scrolling and an hour goes by and we're like, I'm trying to figure out what to post, and you've done nothing to move your business forward. So when your butt hits a chair, wherever that be, if you build your business at the kitchen table or you have a desk, when your butt hits a chair, that's your trigger to say, who needs me to be on the A game right now? That should trigger your why of why you're doing this, and that will definitely help you be more intentional and more focused. That has been like life-changing for me, to be super productive and also really purposeful in where I am and what I'm doing. Last thing I want to say is that life is not going to slow down for you to build a business, right? If I had waited until all the stars aligned and my kids were older and, life got less busy, I never would have built a business, because life, we're just it's always going to be busy, and that's just, it is what it is. But you just got to know there will be periods of imbalance until you get to your season of balance. I've worked my ass off for almost 3 solid years to finally feel like, okay, I feel like in a more balanced state. But it took 3 years of consistent action to get to where I am now. And I'm still not where I want to be, but I'm definitely in a better spot than I was. And to quote Brendon Burchard, it's my favorite thing that he says is honor the struggle. Honor the journey, trust the process, and just know that your hard work will absolutely 100% pay off. Okay, that's all I have for y'all. I talked fast. Hopefully you got it all.
So many good nuggets, especially, I'm echoing.
Are you good?
Hold on. Mute yours for a second.
How do I mute?
At the top. You get it? Okay. So many good, especially the last like 3 slides, guys, just about setting boundaries. That was a key thing for me too. I was getting frustrated with my coaches or my challengers thinking, okay, why are they not doing the things that come so naturally to me? And it was my fault because I was not setting clear expectations of what I expected from them, what they could expect from me. And as soon as I started to do those things and kind of lay that out to start, they started to actually honor the fact that I had certain boundaries set. They weren't texting me at 2 a.m. like they were in the beginning, or randomly expecting a message back in 60 seconds when I just explained like, hey, these are the certain hours that I work and this is the time that I take for my family, and I do calls from this time to this time, and my calls are not an hour and a half long. They're 20 to 25 minutes max. And I need you to come prepared with questions. As soon as I started to set those boundaries for myself, they started to respect that. So you teach people how to treat you. And I think oftentimes our frustrations with people, and that goes with coaches, customers, family members, friends, is because we don't do the job of setting those expectations or setting those boundaries. And I think that that's really the biggest nugget in this call that I feel like will change the way your business runs and the way that you can feel sometimes when you're dealing with a lot of relationships at one time. It's most of the time because you're letting people treat you in ways that you haven't set boundaries and clearly enough for them to feel, okay, that's not okay. So I think I've seen it with every coach, because in the beginning, we just want people to join us. So like, anything I can do, I'll pay for your pack. I remember I honestly did pay for somebody's challenge pack before because I just wanted to help people. And when I realized that doesn't work, even when you buy people stuff, they really don't do it. They have to invest in themselves. I started to set certain boundaries. So those last few slides about being intentional, setting boundaries, that will change your life. Not just even your business, it will change your life about sitting down and knowing what you're sitting down to do. That's what CEOs do. I don't think Carl Deichler ever sits down at his desk and thinks, okay, well, what do I feel like doing today? I'm sure he has an agenda of the things that he's going to do. And so the more we treat our businesses that way, the more successful we become. And while I was on this call, I probably sent about 40 invites while I was doing it. So I'm being intentional of like, okay, I'm on at 9 o'clock at night. Let me go and make this as productive as possible and be able to listen and do something at the same time. I was copying and pasting, so it was not a big deal. But being intentional about when I sit down, I knew I was going to do that. That was already in the plan. It was not something that I was like, I'm sitting here, I'm not really listening, so let me go ahead and send these invites. I already had it laid out. The message was ready to go, copy and paste, and I'm now spent a very productive 43 minutes. So anyway, I just wanted to give that feedback, Raquel. It was so solid, and it really is everything in this business. If you do those few things that she mentioned, being very clear with your why, being intentional, and setting those boundaries, it will change everything. So thank you so, so much.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course. All right, guys. Well, I will